Deep in the Scottish Highlands, there's a monument to a story of murder, betrayal, and one man's determination for bloody vengeance. Welcome to Loch Oich in Scotland's Great Glen, where you'll find the Well of the Seven Heads. Topping the obelisk, a hand holds a dagger along with 7 decapitated heads.
Now, wedged between this busy road and Loch Oich, you'll find the Well of the Seven Heads. Now, why is it called the Well of the Seven Heads? There's a great story about that. You just need to look up.
In 1663, young Alexander, the 12th chief of the MacDonalds of Quebec, and his wee brother were murdered by their cousins, the MacDonalds of Invergarry. Nobody knows exactly what started the fight, but we know that it ended in death. Lord MacDonald of Glengarry was the man responsible for dealing with the crime, but at first it seemed as if nothing would be done. Unfortunately for the murderers, legendary Gaelic bard Ian Lom MacDonald was a kinsman of the victims, and he refused to let the matter lie. Time for just a quick detour away from the Well of the Seven Heads and just a short hop over the hills past Roy Bridge to my favourite wee church of all time, where Ian Lom lies buried, Killy-Chorrell. Now, this isn't the gravestone of Ian Lom MacDonald by the door of Killy-Chorrell Church, but it is a memorial to him. The problem is we know he's buried somewhere here in the graveyard. We just don't know exactly where. There aren't any stones from that date. So this was raised to memorialise the Quebec bard. It faces a slightly different direction than the other stones here, so that it can look towards Ian's homeland over there. The hills. Time to head back to the well.
Ian was not going to let this go. He fought and he fought to try and get justice for his clan chief, but it wasn't easy to come by. Lord MacDonald of Glengarry, it seemed like he didn't want anything to do with it. He'd washed his hands. Either they were too well protected around this area, or maybe it just wasn't worth his time. Whatever the reason was, Ian didn't care. Eventually, Ian was granted a letter of fire and sword from the government. That meant he could take revenge however he deemed fit. By fire, by sword, didn't matter. He couldn't be held responsible. There would be no repercussions from the law. Well, with the help of the MacDonalds of Slate, Ian descended on the MacDonalds of Invergarry, and they killed the 7 men responsible for killing his clan chief. That wasn't enough, though. Ian wanted, he was a poet, he was a bard, he wanted some form of poetic justice. So he took the same dagger that was used to kill the boys, and he cut the 7 men's heads off. He was going to deliver them to MacDonald of Glengarry.
This is where Ian Lom was bringing those heads. This is Invergarry Castle, the old castle, obviously. Now, the MacDonalds of Glengarry moved here in the 1600s after their old castle at Strome was burned down by the Mackenzies. And legend says that it was built with stones from Ben T, and they were carried here, hand-carried, in a great chain from the mountain by all the MacDonald clansmen, passed one to one to one. Now, obviously this castle hasn't fared very much better. It was burned by Oliver Cromwell, or his men, in the middle of the 1600s, but it rose again, and it was vital through each of the Jacobite risings, well, 3 of the big ones, 1689, 1715, 1745, all held out for the Jacobite cause. And Bonnie Prince Charlie actually stayed here very briefly after the Battle of Culloden while he was on the run out to the west coast. Ian Lom might be the kind of guy to cut off 7 men's heads, but he's not a monster. He's not going to bring somebody like Lord MacDonald bloody, dirty, ugly heads. No, he's going to give them a wash first, of course.
So he took them to this little well here, now known as the Well of the Seven Heads.
If you do stop to visit, take the stairs down on the left of the monument. That's where you'll find this short, dark tunnel leading to the natural spring that Ian used, now hidden beneath the main road.
One of the interesting things about this story, the Well of the Seven Heads, is that this monument, raised in the early 1800s by the MacDonald of Glengarry family, kind of rewrites history a wee bit. On the monument, You have in French, Latin, in Gaelic, and finally in English. A statement. Now it basically tells the story of the foul murders of the Kepich family, a branch of the powerful and illustrious clan of which his lordship was the chief. Swift course of feudal justice. I'm not sure many people would call 2 years swift. Also inflicted by the orders of the Lord MacDonald. Well, it was kind of inflicted contrary to the orders of the Lord MacDonald. But it does mention that the monument was erected. The heads of the 7 murderers presented at the feet of the noble chief in Glengarry Castle. It just kind of goes to show that if you've got the money, you can just rewrite history.
So what do you think about the Well of the Seven Heads? Is this a stark reminder of brutal times, or a noble monument to Highland justice? If you want to see more videos about Scotland's fascinating history and incredible folklore, make sure to subscribe. Turn on notifications to find out every time there's a new video. Thanks so much for watching, and leave me a comment if you enjoyed the story behind the Well of the Seven Heads.